Hi guys, welcome to episode 58 of the Grapplers Academy. Pre-checked it this time, so I'm 99% confident there, but there's about 1% of doubt.
We're 58 episodes in and we're still polishing the professionalism of this podcast.
Before we get further into this, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, drop us a comment below to let us know your thoughts on the subjects that we're going to cover. But yeah, before we get into it, Bon last week went and had like a pretty big achievement. Well, I think it's pretty cool anyway. The lifting the Dilly Stones up in Scotland. What was the weight again? Was it?
Yeah, so it's 333 kilos. The two stones, it's the weight of the two stones combined. So one of them's 188 and the other one's 144, or just there or thereabouts. If anyone's seen the mini-series documentaries of Dan Strauss's that are on YouTube that we talked about when we had him on the interview, I think he just finished completing them then.
Yeah.
He just aired when he came on. You can go and watch that, and there's another really good documentary called Stoneland as well by the fitness company Rogue that go into a little bit more about the history of the stones and the history over the time in strongman and what they've been used for. And they talk about the natural stones as well, that Dan Strauss went around lifting all the manhood stones. So yeah, that's why I wasn't here last week and why I wasn't recording. I was up in the Highlands lifting stones and doing other stupid stuff. But really enjoyed it. I can't wait to go up again and do it. But a lot of the people that I've talked to in the journey of doing it, it's amazing how many of them have like judo backgrounds with the grip.
Okay.
It's really interesting because like I talked to a couple of the guys who have seen have lifted it a few times and just asking them, like the tips on, how they train their grip and stuff. And, more than a couple of them have said that they've got like judo backgrounds, so it's all that lapel gripping. And, you get gripped by some of those strong judo guys and it's hard to take the grip off even on a 2-on-1.
You got nowhere with that.
So cross training there as well, but I think a lot more guys lifted it with like a judo or a jiu-jitsu background now, maybe off the back of seeing Strauss do it. But it's a good achievement and I'm glad that I did it and I can't wait to go and do it again. I have to take you with me next time. Right?
I don't think I'll get anywhere near. I'll be like going, yeah, I'm done there.
Surprise yourself, right? Give it a go and see how it goes.
But it's been quite an eventful week, so to say, in the grappling world. Few quite serious subjects, but before we sort of get into those, we can sort of go into a bit of the other news with regards to DDS, another podcast that we both quite enjoy, the Matt Byrne podcast has returned, and it turns out, I don't know whether it was intentional, like we were speaking about before the podcast started, the reason Keenan got kicked out of ATOS was he wanted to open his own gym. And apparently Galval's got this rule where if you're going to open another gym when you're one of his students, it can't be within the San Diego County, which is quite a big place considering the size of America, which he obviously has his reasons for it. I don't personally think it's a good reason or a good decision. Like we were speaking as business-wise, it's a great opportunity to expand the business. He's essentially kicked out one of his top competitors, and I believe a few other of the friends of Keenan's went with Keenan as well. And from the looks of things, Galval's member numbers haven't dropped, whilst Keenan's member numbers have increased.
Yeah.
So
there's an appetite there for jiu-jitsu, isn't there?
Yeah.
More school, from what I can understand, California as a whole, but San Diego in particular, has probably got like one of the highest number of jiu-jitsu gyms per capita of residents in the States, probably if not in the world. And opening another gym up when you're as big a gym as ATOS doesn't detract away from your member base. If people want to come and train with you, you're probably one of the biggest brands out there. And people are going to Google it, or they know you as a competitor, as a coach, and they're going to come there and come to train with you for that reason. But from the point of view of saying to your students, like, you can't go and open another gym in San Diego, it's ridiculous with the amount of gyms that are there anyway. But also, like we were saying before, why not just say, like, let's say if Barbosa wants to go and open his own gym up Galval just goes, yeah, cool, just go and open it up. You can be called ATOS South San Diego, or something like that, and then it's an affiliate gym. They've still got the ties. They don't have to have any bad relationship. They've still got the training partners there when they need them for like ADCC camps or super fights or this sort of thing. And you've not burnt any bridges. Both businesses feed each other, and it just doesn't make any sense.
No.
I know Keenan already had his Keenan Online.
Yeah.
Already established, so it's like he's got his own brand already that people are going to and buying things from, and that's not detracting away from the ATOS HQ online stuff.
No.
So why would he have a problem with him opening a gym up? Doesn't make any sense.
No. I don't fully grasp his reason behind it. Obviously he has got his reasons for it. It could just be something that he's been told by somebody else who might not know how to run a business of that capacity. So they may be like, oh, why would you open it within this radius? Whereas I think like San Diego looks like it's quite a large place to the point of it'll be a couple of hours across if you were to drive it. So what difference would it make if Keenan's gym's a half-hour drive from ATOS HQ when he's tapping up a whole new area essentially, because there's got to be people in there who want to try the sport but aren't willing to travel that distance.
Yeah.
And then those that are willing to travel, they might not want to travel an hour there, but they may travel half an hour to get to Keenan's.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, sounds like a clash of egos and...
from what I've heard, California traffic's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
And you can probably spend an hour and a half driving 5 miles, from what I've heard. So if there's a gym right close by where you live, and you can go there and train that, rather than... unless you're an avid enthusiast who already knows the sport and is in it, and you're going to go out of your way to train with Galval and the guys there, like, you're just going to train at your local gym most likely, aren't you?
Yeah.
Or the best one available to you within a certain radius. So it's a little bit crazy, but I don't know, it's just good seeing the sport of jiu-jitsu grow. Like you say, both of them opening, they both seem to have expanded their membership bases, and I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. Why would you want to make bad relationships with your students? Yeah. And you can understand it from a certain point of view. If you're looking at it from like a selfish point of view of a coach, you've put a lot of time into these students. You've brought them up to like black belt level, they might have won world championships and stuff like that. And if you're looking at it from a selfish point of view, you're like, well, those are my achievements because I've put those coaching hours into you. It's not you that's done it. You don't deserve to open a gym off my back and off my knowledge and kind of ride my coattails sort of thing. But I'm sure there's plenty of people who are successful in business who've got that attitude. But it's not the way to be, is that you want to, especially in a sport like jiu-jitsu where it's supposed to be about getting more people involved and looking after the people who you've had a relationship with for 10 years. If you brought somebody from white belt to black belt, they've been a student of yours for a long time. Some of the guys there, you see them go from teenagers all the way up to adults now, and that kind of seems like a logical step that you'd want to see them progress in business as well, even if it was under your banner.
Yeah.
But hey. The other gym that's popped up and opened up is the best gym in Texas, so no worries for Galval there, no competition, because everybody's now going to go to the B Team's jiu-jitsu gym.
Mexican ground karate,
which is Craig Jones and those guys who've basically sprung their gym up off the back of the Danaher Death Squad splitting up. I watched a little documentary with it, like a mini documentary with it on YouTube yesterday with Craig teaching a class down there, and it looks like they just basically opened up, not too many students in there, but really keen for them to get a good push on with that as well, because they're funny. Like, I don't think there's anybody funnier in jiu-jitsu than Craig Jones.
No. And I think I've noticed, because I watched the when the DDS take over Puerto Rico on Flow, they don't seem to get his humour properly. So when he's winding one of them up, like they get riled up straight away, which you can just see Craig going, I'm going to keep going at this now. I'm going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
Have you seen the little video that he did with, is he called Master Ken? The guy
yeah.
You seen that one with a knife?
That's not a knife. have a not knife.
Oh man, just like the willingness to take the piss out of yourself like that. I don't know, it's a serious sport, but I think it's one that there's a lot of opportunity to have a laugh with.
Yeah.
With the nature of the sport, and Craig Jones just seems to be taking it in his stride. Like some of the Daisy Fresh guys are doing that as well. Which should be an Australian thing.
Oh,
it's the Australian lad from Daisy Fresh as well, isn't it? That was doing that like look away takedown. What, did you see that?
No, I'm not seeing that one.
He's just basically like they're standing up in the clinch and he goes, watch out for that. Makes him look and then does a double leg on him by pointing something at the floor. So it must just be an Australian thing.
Definitely. I remember that's right. I actually brought back memory back when I did MMA and was doing striking sparring. And one of the guys I was sparring with just kept looking at the floor and sort of wiping the floor with his mat. So I'd look down and he'd jab me, and I'd be like, what was this? So he'd do it again. I'd look down and he'd jab me again, like 3 or 4 times in a row. And he goes, I was like, what are you wiping up on the floor? And he goes, I'm just trying to distract you. And I was like, you twat.
Worked a treat.
Yeah.
I think that's almost like my favourite thing to do in stand-up exchange in jiu-jitsu is just stand on somebody's foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Sorry, yeah. Pull it out of the way. Double leg.
Snap down. But yeah, it's good to see them doing something as well. And we were talking before as well. It'd be interesting to see how that then extrapolates into the competition scene.
Yeah.
You know, like how's the B team going to do against? Gordon Ryan's allegedly not competing, is he? So
he says that, but I don't think he'll be able to keep himself.
If he gets his stomach issues sorted out, I imagine he's just going to come back and compete because it sounds like the reason that he stopped competing was with the stomach issues.
Yeah.
I don't think Galvao versus Gordon Ryan's going to go ahead.
No, I can't see that. I think because from what I understand, it's a similar issue to what GSP suffers from, isn't it? Is it? No, it's not colitis, is it? It's one of those kind of.
Oh, is it like a colitis? Or
yeah, and GSP was saying it was down to the quantity of food he was eating. Now I can imagine Gordon Ryan trying to maintain his size. He's probably consuming quite a bit, so maybe one of the solutions to him contribute to fixing his issue might have to drop weight, come back down to that sub 90.
Maybe get off steroids.
I mean, that might help as well.
I mean, I've seen him shifting some big weights in the gym.
Yeah.
Mostly bench press. I don't know whether he squats and deadlifts too much, but bench press is the most applicable movement to jiu-jitsu.
I mean, when you've got side control, what's the only thing you can do to get out?
Bench out of it.
Exactly.
And armbar defence. Bicep curls. Yeah. So basically, if you're writing a program for jiu-jitsu for strength training, bench press and bicep curls.
That's all you need. 6 days a week. Fail out every day.
Leg extensions for butterfly sweeps.
Yeah.
Hamstring curls for back control.
Definitely.
That's all you need.
The adductor machine.
Adductor
for
machine.
Close guard and back control.
I mean, we could probably capitalise on it and do it, but I think I'd rather see Craig Jones do a gym instructional for
He'll
strength
definitely
training
do
for
it
jiu-jitsu.
in his
OnlyFans style.
lavender oiled up, ready to go.
Yeah, with his nut knife. I don't think there's any way to transition into what we're really going to talk about too much next, is there?
But yeah, we've had quite a bit of dark news surface. It seems like there's just a lot of people in power taking advantage of their position and thinking it gives them a right to act in a certain way. Started off with Fight Sports and the Marcel Goncalves, I believe his name was.
Better pronunciation than that, isn't it?
Yeah. We can call him Knobhead if that. But unfortunately, there was an incident in America, for those that haven't heard of it, where one of the child athletes he was coaching from the age of 10 up to the age of 16, he assaulted during a fight to win event. Her testimony for those who want to sort of read the testimonies, it's on the Instagram page by Mo Jassim, who's done a great job sort of uncovering this and putting pressure on those who can make changes, and it's Motar2K. So MOTAR number 2 and then K, but it's called BJJ Truth. And reading some of the accounts, I felt literally sick to my stomach that this kind of thing can happen within our sport. Obviously, I'm not naive enough to think that it doesn't happen, but the way it's been handled, and especially by big players like Cyborg, I'm not too familiar on what Wagner Rocha's role has been with it, but I have personally been a little bit let down, being I was such a big fan of his, of how he handled it and his statements that came out afterwards. And again, same with Cyborg, his statements and the way he handled it, and essentially, from what I can gather, brushing it under the rug, allowing it to happen. The one where we just I showed you the account from when they went to the fight camp down in Bonita, where they essentially pressurised the young lady to drop the charges after she woke up to somebody mid-assault trying to assault her, and they pressurised her into dropping the charges and continuing like nothing had happened because they fear it will ruin the training camp. It's disgusting, if I'm honest. Like, there's not much that can be said to defend those. There's nothing that can be said to defend it.
No. I mean, we've seen it in other sports before, haven't we? It's come out in gymnastics more recently, and you hear other stories of it happening in different sports as well. And it's just a shame that now in such a sport that is like as tactile and as close relationships as people have in jiu-jitsu, that's now another thing that's getting brought to the forefront. If it is happening, it's great that it is being brought up and people are finding the courage to get their voice and speak about it. But it's just so sad to see, and like you say, I think as much as the actions are detestable, the way that it's being dealt with and just kind of like brushed under the rug for people who have got such a big voice or focus in the sport as well is a little bit sad to see.
I think I'd go as far to say that they're as bad as the people doing the actual actions. And then we had a recent one come out from a number of various female athletes from the UK against Jackson Souza. And again, I've read some of the accounts. Thankfully, Sam Cook was brave enough to come out and speak of her experience, and it gave others the sort of strength to come forward with their stories. And again, some of the stories that were coming out about Jackson Souza, like, we just can't allow them to be in the sport, to compete. Like, they need to face criminal charges. There's no other way about it. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's not a case already underway now, and I really hope there is.
Yeah, I've not got anything more to add on that. Like, hitting the nail on the head there, mate. It's just crazy, isn't it? That this is still going on in this day and age when we're trying to encourage as many people to get into the sport as possible, and things like this are still going on, which in all honesty is probably a big reason why a lot of people are put off getting into the sport, because of the nature of the sport, and then it turns out that this sort of things are happening anyway.
Yeah, there's not much. It's really hard to fathom, because these people were held in such high regard within the community. Multiple world champions, successful gyms, featured on regular fight shows, and then for this to come out about them, and for the level of, like, some of the stuff that I read about Jackson, there's one account where he'd asked one of his female students to sit behind at a gym to go through some extra stuff, and afterwards she went in to get showered and get changed, and I think from what I remember he made a few passes out before then, turned them away. While she was in the shower, he'd turn the lights off, come in, and essentially try to force her to do things with him. And I think from what I can't remember, because there's been a lot that I've read, a few of the stories are getting mixed up, but fortunately there was she managed to get away. But still, the previous bit should never have happened. And then, I've got to say, the balls the guy's got to have to, when he gets turned down, start acting like he's not in the wrong, to put pressure on these women that they shouldn't be where he's at. Like, who the fuck does he think he is? Like, and if it was my daughter involved or my sister involved, my partner involved, I wouldn't be as polite as these people. Like, they've handled it a lot better than I would have personally. It's really it's massively letting down that that they think they can get away with it.
It's what, a really important thing to take away from this as well is just because somebody is held in high regard for their achievements in a sport doesn't make them a good person.
No.
Everyone's basically merited off their actions and the way that they interact and involve with people in the sport, outside of the sport. Don't just judge somebody and hold them in high esteem because they're a good competitor. And people shouldn't be taking advantage of their positions of esteem, but they do, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen all throughout history, and historically it's happened as well. And it's just it's a shame to see. I don't have anything more to say other than that. It's disgusting.
No, and if anyone's listening to this who has experienced something like this, please speak to somebody, whether it's friend, family, a randomer. Just let somebody know what you're going through. Ask them, if you're not sure whether, because that's another thing that I'm noticing, where they're not sure whether it was right or wrong what happened. If there's that doubt in your mind, ask somebody. Let them give you an account of their opinion on it, and give you that support to then go and speak to the appropriate authorities, speak to other people, get support. It's a hard thing to get over, I can imagine. So, speaking to somebody and getting the appropriate support, as well as hopefully taking the right action with the authorities to make these people pay for what they've done. That's going to be very important as well, because you can't go through life carrying something like that and just act like everything's okay. Yeah.
Should we wrap up on that?
Yeah. Bit of a quicker episode today, but we had a bit of a heavy subject to go through, and I couldn't add more to that.
No.
Hopefully we'll see you next week, guys, and again, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, comment below if you agree, disagree with anything that we've said.